appetite, who hunted for his victims in the city's fading light. He seduced them with a promise of love he never gave. The only love he showed them was a cold and lonely grave, with a manifested sickness for his interest in the dead, that started with the animals he kept beneath his bed. Excited by the sound, the crack of broken bones, his learning of new skills that he would quickly hone, his thoughts of domination turned into his obsession, his soul no longer bound by inner suppression, his kingdom of death in a rundown Oxford flat is where he plied his trade in a bleach field acid vat. And laid them on the ground, fully awake, but they couldn't make a sound. With his tools of trade, his drill and his trusty butcher's knife, he carved his victims up and drained them of their life. His hands danced through the flesh, a madman's deadly art, with evil all-consuming. Death became his part. With every limb he sliced, their souls he crucified, an outcast with no hope in life. But his killings gave him pride in a stainless steel grave, until another day his victims' severed limbs were hidden well away. With a promise of love, his victims paid the price, wrapped up inside a freezer, preserved in bags of ice. They are all but now frozen remains. Someone but no one, frozen remains. Like a Broadway stage production, each death was his first act. Their home was now the freezer, cut up and tightly packed. His victims' sliced up bodies were frozen for his dinner. A monster from the Midwest, a cannibalistic sinner, in a stainless steel grave, until another day his victims' severed limbs were hidden well away. With a promise of love, his victims paid the price, wrapped up inside a freezer, preserved in bags of ice. They are all was answering God's call. Bludgeoned on the head, a monster finally dead.
Think
coward dies, hanging in his cell and grinning with his eyes. Helter Skelter rising, the curse became his throne. Bound by blood and murder, his family obeyed. Upon the bloody altar, innocence betrayed. A burning world of hatred, his vision carved their fate. The Manson curse awakened, for some, it was too late. Commands them, his prophecy fulfilled. Helter Skelter raging, the curse that sealed his fate. A family forced to murder, the world consumed by hate. The dawn of death awakened, the madness took control. The Manson curse resounding, devoured every soul. Crimson walls were bleeding, his message carved in pain. The Manson curse eternal, forever shall remain. Helter Skelter, the Manson curse. Blood and death, his endless thirst. Helter Skelter, the family's blade. The curse of Manson, forever laid. Helter Skelter, his mind's dark tomb. A song of chaos, the prophet's doom. Crumbled, the end was ever near. The Beatles' words distorted, apocalypse in sound. Helter Skelter screaming, the curse was unbound. His cult of doom relentless, the shadows never fade. The master's voice commanded, the family betrayed. The killing age remembered, a nightmare now reborn. The curse of Manson resounding, humanity was torn. Ashes veiled the sunrise, his kingdom turned to stone. His family left in ruin, the madman stood alone. The prophecy lay broken, yet scars remain today. The curse of Manson lingers, it never fades away. Helter Skelter echoes, the madness carved in shame. The world forever haunted, began to bind. The butcher's time was fading, his kingdom left behind. The butcher of Baghdad, the tyrant's crown erased. Red dawn falling, his empire laid to waste. The butcher of Baghdad, a coward forced to die. Red dawn falling, his life was just a lie. The butcher of Baghdad, a legacy of hate. Red dawn falling, his terror sealed his fate. They found him in a hole, cowering like a dog. The mighty king of terror, reduced to worthless fog. The tyrant who was feared and reigned upon his throne lay a broken coward, nothing but skin and bone. The slaughter of 1,000,000 lives, death by his own hand. 23 years of suffering under his command. The butcher stood his trial, his crimes were on display. Justice claimed its moment, the butcher had to pay. Screams met the gallows that took his final breath, as his people watched the rope deliver him to death. The desert holds the memory his army to conquer new borders, and no one dared stand in his way. Like a game of chess, he played from the back and sacrificed his pawns. He sat and watched his soldiers attack. The final reckoning dawned. A cruel march toward the lie of the shower, as the gods led the weak to their death. His final solution, their final hour. The gas left them fighting for breath. Confusion set in and they trembled in dread, for they knew that their time's running out. Bodies collapsed and the silence had spread as darkness hung heavy about. Cities were falling, crumbling construction. The world had been taken away. Total destruction, evil corruption. Even the atheist prayed. The world, thanks to you, would never be the same. Your puppets with their holocaust just added to your game. Shots were flying, innocence fading. No one dared try to sleep. Burning of houses and raping of spouses. To you and your Reich, life was cheap. 60 million dead. Was that your legacy? Your quest was a demented fantasy. Your side. Stand up now, Der Führer, and raise your hands in the air. And that cyanide and gun in your hand, don't you even dare. You're just a withered frame with sunken eyes, a face without a smile. For the crimes you committed, the world awaits your trial. Almighty Führer, you were the taker. As you stood alone in the dock, were you prepared to face your maker for all of those lives that you took? Many had passed, many had lost. You bastard, you fell to your knees. They brought you down, you paid the cost, as deaf ears fell on your pleas. The world stood as one as judgment was passed. A final sentence you'd see. Your final days, the die had been cast. No longer would you be free. Oh, to the